Good morning. Welcome to this fourth session in Woodland Summer Series, Reaching for the Stars. This morning we're talking about something that is vital for the life of the church: fellowship. Fellowship is what has held us together all these years. It was certainly what held the early church together, and that wasn't easy. They were under a time of intense persecution. Each day they didn't know whether they were going to survive or not. What's more, they were thrown together with all kinds of different people from different kinds of walks of life, people who were held together by their simple belief in Jesus of Nazareth. And what a strange amalgamation of people they were. Different ages, different genders, different races, even different beliefs. However, they bonded with each other. They bonded because of the ways they cared for each other, the ways they stood up for one another, the ways they stood by one another, and most of all, by the ways they encouraged one another. Now, perhaps the person who was most responsible for this was a man by the name of Barnabas. His nickname meant son of encouragement. Now, I realize that Paul gets most of the acclaim for the formation of the church, but I think it was Barnabas. It was Barnabas who modeled out what it meant to be a member of the Church of Jesus Christ. Just look at his many acts of generosity. When the church was bereft of money, it was Barnabas who went and sold his property in Cyprus, his retirement package, his nest egg, if you will, and he took the proceeds and brought it to the apostles and said, "Here, no strings attached." It was an act of word and deed of saying, I am all into this unique community of faith. And all in Barnabas was. In subsequent years, it was Barnabas who bailed people out over and over again. It was Barnabas who encouraged people to be the best they could be. It was Barnabas who rescued Paul and John Mark when they had been discarded. It was Barnabas who saw the best in people and then encouraged that best to be a reality. He was the example of what it means to be a member of the Church of Jesus Christ. He gave spiritual definition to the Greek concept koinonia. Now, koinonia has been called many things over the years, but I think what J.R.R. Tolkien saw is the best definition. He called it fellowship. In fact, he wrote a wonderful adventure called The Fellowship of the Ring, where he took a merry band of people who pulled together in a common cause to look out for one another, to encourage one another, to become something more than just the sum of their gifts and the sum of their personalities. I think it's a beautiful story. And I think it is what is so vital for the Church of Jesus Christ these days, for us to pull together and pull out the best in one another. Fellowship. Now this morning I have two of my favorite people to talk about one aspect of fellowship in our church, our deacon ministry. I can't wait to hear from Barbara Higdon and Mary Nichols, because they epitomize fellowship for me. I think they will for you as well. Good morning. This morning we're talking about the vital component in church life, fellowship. And I've got two of my favorite folks in the world here who are absolutely epitomize fellowship, Barbara Higdon and Mary Nichols. And they're going to talk a little bit about a particular aspect of fellowship in our church, and that's the deacon ministry. But before we get started, tell me a little bit about your history at Woodland. When did you come? How long have you been here? What are the things that you've really enjoyed about Woodland? Barbara, why don't we start with you?
Well, I was a member of Manor Baptist, and this was a partial mission of Manor. And but I didn't come when all the young folks came. It seemed like more of the younger people came first. And But then Phil Sockaville called me and offered me a job here as a secretary, part-time. So I was the first official secretary.
Really?
And Al Staggs was pastor, and I worked here for several years in that capacity until we hired a full-time secretary. And then Guy Sales came, and then my kids had gone off to college, and so my husband and I decided to join out here. So I've been here a long time.
And I guess I have too. I think we joined when Al Staggs was thinking about leaving, and they were trying to find someone. And I remember a financial person had told us, Brent Forrest, that we might like this church. It was kind of a newer church. And so we went, I was married to Wally Johns, who the prayer garden's named for. And Lee Marsh was in the back of the church with the choir, and he hadn't seen me in years, and I walked in and he went, "Mary!" And I said, "I'm home. This is where I'm going to church." So, yeah.
Hospitality right from the get-go. Mm-hmm. Well, both of you all are deacons, and I want to aim at it, some of the questions that way, but how important do you think fellowship is for the church?
Huge.
In what ways?
Huge. I mean, for me, this is my family. I come here because I love the fellowship. I love the people that are here. And to me, I think that's why a lot of people come. We like being together. We like worshiping together. And you want other people to feel that connection with you, with God, with the church, and how to help that happen.
And I think fellowship is, we're already part of a fellowship in that we're all believers, we all walk in the light, and that's biblical. But so whenever we get together, to me, that's fellowship. But like Mary, this is my circle of friends, this is my family, and almost everything I do is with people from Woodland. There's such a warmth and a concern for each other, and that's really important, I think.
How important is it for the deacon to promote fellowship, and how do you all do that?
Well, we do it through care groups mostly. The care groups were originated in the very beginning of the church in order to form smaller units where people could get to be known. And at that point, they were geographical. Since then, we have tweaked it about 1,000 times, but mostly the care groups are all within a Sunday school class. And the deacons facilitate that because they're all members of that class too. And we try to do occasional get-togethers, potlucks, and things like that. Go to lunch after church. COVID put a big stop on a lot of that, but we're trying to get back into it. But unless you're a part of a small group, you really don't experience the fellowship, I don't think.
Someone said to me, you're not really a member of a church until you've got at least 2 or 3 friends that you can lean on. Mary, do you see the same thing, sort of thing?
And I think, too, the care group creates a group that can pray for each other. Mm. When you see a prayer request, you know who they are. They pray for each other, and we try to remember their birthdays. We try to remember them as special people. So I think that,
A Baptist church is like a denomination in itself, and each Sunday school class is its own little church. You guys are in the same Sunday school class. You seem to do a really good job at fellowship. How do you guys make that happen?
We have at least quarterly parties and in different homes. For a while, we had really outgrown a lot of the homes. But since COVID, our group has gotten a little bit smaller. And they're just fun. It's just a great way to get to know people and to share common interests. We all have the common interest in Woodland and in being Christians. But when we get together at parties, we find out what people do and, what their hobbies are, what their favorite mission activity is. So it's really great.
As a minister, that's one of the things I always enjoyed about going to parties is that I got one-on-one time and there wasn't some kind of agenda. It was really good. And you guys do a great job of being hospitable and making ministers feel at home. What programs in the church outside the care groups do you think have been successful in developing fellowship?
I think the women's ministries, now called Women in Action, and that has been wonderful because Becky Miller has done such a great job, and we have 2 ministries that go under that. But women come and we're doing things. We're making hygiene kits or sewing for different girls for days for girls, but you don't have to think a whole lot. You can talk and fellowship with people there, do things together, pray together, and women love doing that. So that's been a really wonderful thing, I think.
And I think the Women's Bible, book club is another huge fellowship. And the neat thing about it is it's sort of intergenerational. Not many younger women come because they have kids at home or they're working, but the age range is significant. And we have learned so much. Well, now I'm one of the older ones, but at one point I was one of the younger ones. And it's just a great way to get to know people because you discuss a book, you find out what they thought about it, and you find out about them when they discuss what they like and don't like and what was significant. And women find it easy to do that kind of thing and to get together. But I think the men's, what do they call themselves, the Biscuit Boys? There is a core group there that really is strong. So I just think there are a number of ways that we can connect that isn't at church specifically.
But I think Lifetimers is huge too.
Oh, yes.
So many people feel a part of that and love coming together, learning something, and then eating together. So that's been a very successful.
Right, and we even have non-members that come faithfully to that. So it's a good outreach and a fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think one of the real gifts of Baptists is that we do love to eat together.
Yes, we do.
But it's around a table that you get to know people. And I think like Wednesday night suppers were very important. Lifetimers is great because you get thrown in with a lot of different people doing different things. Coming out of the pandemic, do you think that there are going to be challenges for fellowship? Do we need to have new ideas to put people together? Or do you think it's going to be a natural kind of transition back to the way things were, where you're having kind of programs, ministries that attracted like-minded people?
I think so. I don't think anything's going to be exactly the same ever. And I think we should always be looking for ways to involve other people. One of the best ways, I think, Mary already mentioned the activity for women preparing ministry things, mission things. But the bed ministry just popped out of nowhere, and they are having a wonderful time. And there are people who have barely been involved in the church that are now actively building beds for foster children. And when the pandemic arose, the group of us that was going down to the rescue mission and preparing a meal monthly looked at each other and said, well, now what do we do? Because we can't go down there, it's closed. But we were concerned for our homeless friends. And that little ministry has kept on going now nearly 3 years, and it's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Everybody in the church is involved in a way in that they donate. But those of us that come and fill the sacks have a fabulous time and have gotten to know each other, in ways that we never would again. So,
Sometimes I think when we're in the church, we talk about ourselves as being family. But coming in, if you're a new person, how do you break into the family? And are there other people groups that need fellowship in our community, the community at large, and then the community of faith here at Woodland?
We've had quite a few lovely people that have been members now a couple of years, but they're really not interested in Sunday school for several reasons. And, some of them know each other, and, they've got their little group, but they're not going to, there's some things they're not going to be interested in being a part of, and I think that's okay. I think the deacons really have their radar out to make sure new people are greeted, talked to at church or in Sunday school. We really try to be very welcoming and try to help people do those, get involved in things, so they know about things. But I don't know how.
Well, that's really helpful. Yeah.
I am an introvert by nature, and I don't like large gatherings. I'm uncomfortable. I like small groups. And I think any time that we can create a small group atmosphere, it's more welcoming, it's more inclusive. And I just think we need to be very alert to those opportunities. But they're sort of organic, like the bed ministry and the homeless ministry. But when they arise, then we need to nurture them and support them and invite people to come. I think even if people don't like large gatherings, they want to be known. And one of the little logos that has been handed around recently is be known, be loved, belong. And I like that. I think everyone wants to be known. They may not want to be in a group all the time, but they want to be known, and we need to work at knowing them.
Well, you guys have been great about this, because I do think that fellowship is the glue that holds the church together. And I think poetry and other things teach us to pay attention. And maybe what you're doing today is helping me to pay more attention to folks. And I think to pay attention to what we could do to be the Church of Jesus Christ. Thank you so much.
Thank you.